Welcome to the Virginia Tech Intramural Sports Preseason presentation. This video will contain important policies and procedures about the Intramural Sports program, as well as sports-specific rules for your reference and to share with your teammates. Before we get started, we would like to thank our presenting sponsor, Foxridge Apartment Homes, for all they do for the Virginia Tech Intramural Sports program. Captains, as your team's representative, it is your responsibility to share the information presented in this video with your teammates. All games are played in War Memorial Hall. Practice equipment will be available to check out at the courts with your Hokie passport. Additionally, a game ball will be provided by VT Intramural Sports, but teams may choose to use their own ball as long as both captains agree. Players cannot compete with jewelry on. The only exception is for medical alert bracelets and necklaces, which must first be shown to a supervisor and then secured with tape. Any religious jewelry must be pre-approved in the Intramural Sports office prior to game participation. Teams must have numbered light-colored and dark-colored jerseys for each game. A team without enough jerseys for all players will forfeit the game. Remember that intramural staff will not provide jerseys to participants. Jerseys must be a similar shade of color across an entire team. In situations where teams show up in similar colors, it will be up to the captains to determine who will wear each color. If teams cannot reach an agreement, both teams will forfeit the game. For administrative purposes, in 5v5 basketball, all player jerseys must have numbers. Numbers can be 1- or 2-digit whole numbers and must be unique for each team member. They should be clearly visible from at least 10 yards away. Remember that taping jersey numbers is not allowed. For 5v5 basketball, a team needs a minimum of 4 players to start a game. To check into a game, players must have purchased a full Intramural Sports membership and have their Hokie passport with them. We're also asking teams to show up early to their games to help keep games on schedule throughout the entire night. If a team does not have enough players to start the game at the scheduled game time, the game clock will start and a 10-minute grace period will be given to find additional players. After the 10-minute grace period ends, a team without the required number will forfeit the game. If neither team has enough players, it will be a double forfeit. If teams get enough players before the 10-minute grace period is over, the game will be started immediately. However, if one team had enough players at the scheduled game time, that team will have the option to start the game with a 0-0 score or start ahead by the mercy rule. Teams that forfeit during the regular season must pay a $20 forfeit reinstatement fee to remain in the league. Forfeits during the week must be paid by 9 a.m. on the Friday of that week. Forfeits over the weekend must be paid by 9 a.m. on the following Tuesday. Team captains will be emailed after forfeiting a game with instructions to pay the forfeit reinstatement fee. As a reminder, you should always show up for your scheduled games unless you have been directly contacted by the Intramural Sports office. There is no game limit to add players to your team roster. Players may be added throughout the entire season and can be added to your roster either through Fusion IM prior to the game or when they check in for a game with their Hokie passport. A player can participate on only one team during the season. Players are locked on a roster 3 weeks after the season begins. For all competitive divisions, this coincides with the start of the playoff tournament. As a captain, you are allowed to protest player eligibility and rule misapplications. Eligibility protests may be made at any point during the game. A rule protest, however, must be made prior to the restart of play. In order to submit a formal protest, please find a supervisor on site and they will administer the situation. Following each contest, the intramural staff will rate the sportsmanship for each team. All teams that finish the regular season with a 3.0 average or above are eligible for the playoffs. All teams must maintain a 3.0 average in the playoffs in order to advance. A team that displays poor sportsmanship is subject to removal from the league, and a player that displays poor sportsmanship is subject to ejection or suspension. Please remember that it is a privilege to play intramurals, so play hard, play fair, and respect the game. Now let's dive into the rules for 5v5 basketball. 5v5 basketball is played between two teams of 5 players. Remember, teams must have 4 players to begin a game. The game consists of two 20-minute halves with a running clock for all except the last 30 seconds of the first half and the last 2 minutes of the second half, where the clock will stop on all whistles. Each team has one 30-second timeout per half. The mercy rule states that if one team is ahead by 19 or more points with 2 minutes or less left in the game will be declared over. During the regular season, games can end in a tie. However, during playoffs, all games will be played until there is a winner. All overtime rules can be found online. Each game will begin with a jump ball in the center circle. This establishes the alternating possession arrow, which will be used for the remainder of the game. Substitutions may only be made during dead ball periods resulting from violations or fouls. If free throws are awarded for a shooting foul, substitutes will be allowed to enter prior to the last free throw. Substitutes must wait at the table until the referee beckons them onto the court. All personal fouls count towards the team foul count. Prior to the 7th team foul, only shooting fouls will result in free throws. For shooting fouls, 1 free throw is awarded on a made basket, and either 2 or 3 free throws are awarded for a missed basket. All other common fouls will result in a throw-in for the offended team at the spot out of bounds closest to where the foul occurred. On and after the 7th team foul, all fouls except team control and player control fouls will result in a 1-and-1 bonus for the offended player. As a reminder, there is no double bonus. During a free throw, the 6 players in the lane may leave their lane space when the shot is released. The shooter and all players behind the 3-point line must wait until the ball touches the rim. The 2 spots above the block must be occupied by defensive players. Priority for the middle lane space is given to offensive players, and priority for the top lane space is given to the defense. If a technical, intentional, or flagrant foul occurs during the game, the offended team is awarded an automatic 2 points and possession of the ball. For technical fouls, the ball is inbounded at half court. For intentional and flagrant fouls, the throw-in will be out of bounds at the spot nearest to where the foul occurred. Technical fouls may be assessed for unsportsmanlike behavior, dunking outside of the game, or continued delay of game. Technical fouls also count as personal fouls, and if a player receives 2 technical fouls in one game, they will be ejected. For the Co-Rec League, the on-court gender ratio must always be plus or minus 1 for each team. Female baskets receive an additional point. Females are also awarded an additional free throw for shooting fouls and shoot 2-and-1 when in the bonus. For 2-and-1, the player must make both of the first 2 free throws to be awarded a 3rd free throw. Lastly, the mercy rule for the Co-Rec League is 25 points instead of 19 points. All game status decisions will be made by the Intramural Sports Office by 4 p.m. each day. After 4 p.m., the status of games is determined by intramural staff on site. To see the most current game status, follow us on Twitter or Facebook. If you have any questions that were not covered in this video, or any that come up throughout the season, please feel free to check out our policy page online, email us at imsports@vt.edu, call us, or stop by our office in War Memorial Hall. Good luck, have a great season, and thank you for helping make Virginia Tech Intramural Sports one of the finest programs in the nation.